Sometimes, the most profound forces in our lives aren't thunderous roars or blinding flashes, but rather the gentle, persistent whisper of belief. We navigate our days, often preoccupied with our own internal monologues, scarcely aware of the immense, almost alchemical power hidden within a few carefully chosen words. These aren't just sounds. They are catalysts, sparks that can ignite a firestorm of transformation within another human being. This story is a testament to that quiet, unassuming strength, the extraordinary impact of ordinary kindness. It's about how a fleeting moment of genuine support, a single, unassuming phrase, didn't just brighten a day or provide temporary comfort. No, it rerouted an entire trajectory, transforming what seemed like an insurmountable obstacle into a triumphant descent. It's a vivid illustration that sometimes, when all else seems lost, a kind word, offered purely from the heart, is all it truly takes to empower someone to achieve the impossible. For the better part of a decade now, I've been immersed in the beautiful, often frenetic, and always challenging world of a bustling creative agency. Our office, a sprawling, open-plan space with exposed brick walls and high ceilings, occupies the 5th floor of a beautifully renovated old industrial building nestled in the vibrant heart of the city's downtown core. From my window, I can gaze down upon a small, meticulously maintained park, a verdant rectangle that offers a momentary, living escape from the constant digital glow of our screens. It's a place where ideas are not just currency, they are the very air we breathe, and deadlines loom perpetually, casting long, insistent shadows over every project. The agency itself is a crucible of brilliant minds, each striving relentlessly to carve out their unique niche, to leave an indelible mark on the advertising landscape, to craft narratives that resonate and persuade. Among us, amidst the confident chatter and the focused intensity, was a new hire named Anya. She had joined us fresh out of university. Her eyes, though undeniably bright with raw ambition, also held a certain nervous energy, a palpable apprehension that seemed to cling to her like a fine mist, hinting at a deep-seated vulnerability. Her talent was undeniable, a raw, unpolished gem waiting to be fully revealed, but she carried the palpable weight of imposter syndrome, a heavy, invisible cloak that seemed to dim her natural radiance.
Anya's induction into our demanding world began with a baptism by fire, a project that, even for the most seasoned veterans within our ranks, was notoriously challenging. It was a major pitch, a make-or-break presentation to a new, incredibly high-profile client, a notoriously discerning entity known throughout the industry for their exacting standards and their almost impossibly high expectations. As the deadline for this crucial pitch drew nearer, the very air in the office seemed to grow thick with an almost suffocating pressure, each day feeling heavier than the last. I observed Anya from my desk, a vantage point that allowed me to witness her journey with a detached, yet empathetic eye. She was often hunched over her workstation late into the evenings, long after most others had departed. Her usually bright, eager face, which typically held a youthful glow, became progressively etched with the telltale lines of exhaustion and a growing, visible current of doubt. The pervasive aroma of stale, cold coffee and the rhythmic, almost hypnotic hum of late-night computers became the melancholic soundtrack to her increasingly solitary struggle. She would meticulously review her work, only to sigh and delete, start again, only to find new reasons for dissatisfaction. The spark that had initially drawn her to the agency seemed to be flickering, threatening to extinguish under the immense pressure. One particularly late evening, as the city outside began to settle into its quieter, nocturnal rhythm, and the office lights dimmed, most of my colleagues had already departed, leaving only a scattering of dedicated night owls. I found myself making a final round, checking on a few lingering tasks before finally heading home. As I approached Anya's section of the open plan office, I saw her still there, a solitary figure illuminated by the cool blue glow of her monitor. She was staring blankly at the screen, her gaze distant, unfocused, as if lost in a mental maze. Beside her keyboard lay a half-eaten sandwich, clearly long forgotten, its contents already looking sad and dry. The subtle shimmer of her screen light cast a pallor on her face, highlighting the despair that seemed to have taken root in her eyes. It was a look I recognized, a look of utter defeat. She looked up as she heard my approaching footsteps, her movements slow, almost lethargic. A heavy, defeated sigh escaped her lips, carrying with it the full weight of her inner turmoil. "I don't think I can do this," she confessed, her voice barely a whisper, strained and brittle, the words themselves heavy with self-doubt and the palpable fear of impending failure. "It's too much. The expectations are astronomical, and I just don't feel like I'm good enough. I'm hitting a wall and I can't seem to break through it." The raw honesty of her confession hung in the quiet, almost sacred stillness of the deserted office. Her words resonated deeply with a younger version of myself. I remembered vividly feeling that exact same soul-crushing way early in my own career. The paralyzing fear of failure, the relentless internal monologue that constantly whispers insidious suggestions to give up, to retreat, to succumb to the pressure. The feeling of inadequacy, of being an imposter, was a familiar, unwelcome ghost. Instead of offering generic advice or launching into a critique of her approach, or worse, recounting my own past struggles, I simply walked closer, leaning gently against the edge of her desk. I met her gaze, making sure my eyes conveyed a genuine warmth, a sincerity I hoped would communicate not just understanding, but also an unwavering belief in her inherent capabilities. "Anya," I said, my voice deliberately soft, yet firm and steady. "You absolutely can do this. I've been watching your work, not just this project, but since you started. You have truly incredible ideas, a unique perspective, and a fresh way of looking at problems that this client, frankly, desperately needs right now. What you're experiencing is normal. It's part of the process of growth. Just believe in yourself, trust your instincts, and keep pushing. You're closer than you think." It was just a few simple words, really, nothing profound or revolutionary in their individual meaning. I wasn't her manager, burdened with the responsibility of direct oversight or performance reviews. I was merely a colleague, offering a moment of connection, a sliver of genuine encouragement. I didn't offer to take over her tasks or to brainstorm solutions with her directly. My contribution was purely an act of imparting belief. She blinked slowly, as if processing my words, and then a faint flicker of something, perhaps surprise, perhaps a tiny, tentative spark of renewed hope entered her tired eyes. A small, hesitant smile, almost imperceptible at first, touched her lips. "Thank you," she said, her voice still quiet but with a newfound resonance. I really needed to hear that tonight." I nodded gently, offering another reassuring smile, and left shortly after, thinking little more of the exchange in the immediate aftermath. My words felt like a natural, almost instinctive response, simply speaking what I felt was unequivocally true about her potential. The next few weeks, leading up to the pitch, were a blur of frantic activity and heightened anticipation for everyone in the agency. Anya continued to work tirelessly, her hours remaining long, but there was a subtle yet significant shift in her demeanor. The previous slump in her shoulders, which had communicated so much defeat, seemed to noticeably lessen, replaced by a quiet, determined resolve. Her creative energy, which had seemed so utterly stifled by self-doubt, began to flow more freely, more confidently. I would catch glimpses of her sketching furiously in her notebook, collaborating with other team members with a newfound assertiveness, her eyes now burning with a focused intensity. A quiet, undeniable confidence began to radiate from her, slowly pushing back against the shadows of self-doubt. She wasn't just working, she was building, crafting, believing. Then came the monumental day of the big presentation. The entire agency was on edge, a collective sense of nervous energy pervading every corner. The outcome of this pitch held significant weight for the company, and the air was thick with unspoken expectations. Hours later, the news finally arrived, spreading through the office like wildfire, igniting a wave of cheers and celebratory exclamations. Anya and her team had not only successfully secured the client, but had done so with a pitch that was unanimously hailed by the client as innovative, fresh, and groundbreaking. It was a triumph that resonated through every department, a resounding success that far exceeded even the most optimistic expectations. It was, in every sense of the word, an impossible achievement made real.
A little over a month later, amidst the joyful din of a celebratory dinner hosted by the agency to acknowledge the resounding success of the pitch, Anya sought me out. Her face was absolutely glowing, illuminated from within by a pure, unadulterated sense of accomplishment and pride, a stark, beautiful contrast to the despair I'd witnessed in her eyes just weeks before. She held a small, elegant award, a token of the company's gratitude for her outstanding leadership on the project. "I've been wanting to properly thank you," she began, her voice brimming with a genuine, almost overwhelming emotion, her eyes sparkling with unshed tears of happiness. That night, when I felt completely and utterly ready to give up, when the pressure felt like it was going to crush me, your words, "You can do this," they weren't just encouraging, they were everything. They were precisely what I needed to hear in that moment of absolute crisis. They didn't just provide a temporary morale boost, they fundamentally changed my perspective. They didn't just tell me I could do it, they instilled in me the belief that I would do it. They were the absolute turning point, the pivotal moment when I decided to fight back against my own doubts and push through. You saw something in me I couldn't see myself, and you voiced it. It was in that precise moment, hearing her heartfelt words, seeing the sheer, unadulterated joy and the profound sense of accomplishment radiating from her, that a powerful, almost incandescent realization washed over me. It wasn't about executing grand gestures or devising complex, intricate strategies, or even offering tangible hands-on assistance. It was, at its very core, about the beautifully simple act of truly seeing someone's potential, of recognizing the inherent strength and capability within them, especially when they themselves were utterly blind to it. It was about holding up a metaphorical mirror, not to reflect their flaws or their fears, but to reveal the brilliance and resilience that lay dormant within them. True goodness, genuine support, isn't always about solving problems for others. Sometimes, in its most potent form, it's simply about holding that mirror steady, about planting a small, fragile seed of faith in their hearts, and then trusting with every fiber of your being that it will not only grow, but will blossom into something magnificent.
That transformative experience, the memory of Anya's despair turning into triumph, has stayed with me ever since. A gentle yet profound reminder that our individual capacity to impact and influence others is often far, far greater and more far-reaching than we could ever possibly imagine. We don't need a flowing cape or a dramatic superhero costume or some extraordinary superhuman power to fundamentally alter the course of someone's journey. No, more often than not, all it truly takes is a kind word, a sincere, heartfelt expression of belief, delivered with genuine warmth and conviction, offered precisely at the right moment when it is most desperately needed. It's a simple yet incredibly powerful echo that reverberates far beyond the initial utterance, building layers of confidence, sparking dormant courage, and ultimately empowering others to reach deep within themselves and achieve their own personal impossible. The world, in its vast complexity and occasional harshness, becomes undeniably brighter, not solely through the execution of grand sweeping deeds or monumental acts of heroism, but through the quiet, consistent, and deeply human act of supporting one another, of seeing and nurturing the best in those around us. Because in a truth that transcends all understanding, when we extend our hands and lift others up, truly and genuinely, we invariably and beautifully find ourselves rising with them.